This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined as always by Johnny Nelson. We're here at Madison Square Garden. I've just heard we've got 2 minutes until the start of the undercard press conference, so let's make this quick. Johnny, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing good. It's nice to be in New York again. They're talking about a big fight here in New York and the Brits invading. I can remember coming here with Nassim Hamid and we were driving through Times Square and there was a big massive billboard of him there, and we're in the car and Naz looked up and he said, "We're here, man, we've made it." You know, and he understood, you know, it was a big deal. And a Brit in Times Square, you know, coming and making a lot of noise here in New York. It was a massive, massive deal. I remember him saying he was nervous, but the rest is history. Look at the performance he put on. And it was a good time. Good memories here for Brits coming over to box in New York.
I actually saw a little clip of you on Twitter today, looking very, very youthful. But we'll leave that because we don't have the time. Just how important was it for Nassim Hamid, who's one of the biggest stars of the 90s, but coming over here and putting on such a sensational performance against Kevin Kelly? How important was that for his star quality overall?
It was most important. The reason being is because the Brits just didn't have that reputation, that fearsome reputation. With the Americans. The Americans didn't respect us. No disrespect to Frank, but they all thought we all boxed like Frank Bruno, tight, up straight, you know, punch hard, very orthodox, and they thought it'd be fun to fight a Brit. Then Naz came along, brash, loud, unorthodox, a guy you either loved him or hated. He came in on a carpet. I can remember before the fight, Michael Jackson was in the gym. You know, we were all just rocking it, and Naz really tore up here in New York, and the Americans didn't know what to make of him. And then with the entrance when he came in, it was like something new. I think they all of a sudden thought this is showbiz, and I think he opened the gates for not just AJ, a lot of big fighters, big stars, to do that and be celebrities, be stars, be rock stars in our sport.
Let's moving ahead to AJ. Obviously, another Brit topping the bill here at Madison Square Garden. It's Andy Ruiz. I've spoken to you about kind of drugs in boxing on numerous occasions in the past. I think the last time I did it, 2 weeks later, Jerome Miller got popped for performance-enhancing drugs. We'll come on to that another time. As I was saying, we are pushed for time here, so I do apologise to people watching. How difficult a fight is Andy Ruiz compared to Jerome Miller for Anthony Joshua?
Well, let's look at it this way. How many people outside of boxing knew who Jerome Miller was before AJ was fighting him, outside of boxing? And so Ruiz, you look at Ruiz again, you know, it gives people a chance to complain, oh no, look at the state of him. Actually, technically, and you're looking at his record, he's actually better than Miller. The problem is because it's at 5 weeks notice, but the problem is because aesthetically, he doesn't look like an Adonis. He's got good hands, only lost to Joseph Parker, which was a close decision on Joseph Parker's turf. Good counter puncher, but I think this is about levels, and the reason why you're world champion is because your levels head and shoulders above everybody else below you. And I think Anthony Joshua, once he steps in the ring, regardless, he's in an no-win situation. If he goes the distance, the public will say, well, this guy only had 5 weeks notice. If he gets rid of him, they'll say, well, look at him, what was he there? Anthony Joshua's got to block all that and be focused, be professional, think, right, I'm a world champion. I've trained for 14 weeks for this. I'm going to get my job done. You lot deal with the criticism. Yes, you'd say the pressure might be on because of Deontay Wilder's concussive knockout of Dominic Breazeale before that. But I think Anthony Joshua doesn't care. He's the man that's done his job. If that fight was going to happen, it will happen. He doesn't have to chase anybody. He doesn't have to chase Wilder. He doesn't have to chase Fury. He's the man with the most amount of belts. He answers the questions. And so right now, you know, he's just getting on with his job. The problem is, God, when he beats Ruiz, who does he fight after that? Who is there that's reasonable, bar Dillian Whyte, that he fights after that? Because Dillian Whyte could be fighting Tyson Fury if they both win their next fights. So, and that's a problem. But these guys are all dancing on the same dance floor, but opposite sides of the dance floor. Eventually somebody's going to meet and have a smooch, and that's what we've got to look out for.
Picking it straight up back there, just had to move away from the stage. Got evicted, definitely didn't run out of battery. Anyway, carrying on, you mentioned Deontay Wilder versus Dominic Breazeale last week. We agreed with the news yesterday that Deontay Wilder will be giving Luis Ortiz a rematch, which obviously now rules out any possibility of Anthony Joshua fighting him next. Just your thoughts on that?
Well, I think after he beat Breazeale and he spoke about his next opponent, and we're all hoping all roads will lead to Anthony Joshua. Straight away in the words he said, it was non-committal. I think they already realised what they were going to do, and especially with Ortiz getting in the ring afterwards. let's just cut it down. I think both fighters, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, want to fight each other. You put them in the room, you walk out with a date and a deal. The problem is the people around them have got to decide when it's good business for this to happen. And so both fighters don't talk about the things they want to do to each other in the ring and can't back it up. That doesn't happen in boxing. Every other sport, well, boxing's for real. But I do believe you put them in a room, that fight will get made. If I was down too hard and I really wanted to put the pressure on AJ and his team, I'd come to the fight this weekend. He's not going to get ignored for sure. And that's when you've got the two protagonists in the same area where they will talk, and there's no reason why this thing couldn't happen. I understand, you don't want to steal the limelight of Anthony Joshua's fight, but I think if it's going to happen, it's about public pressure now. The public can no longer do anything. They can talk about the fight, let's get it on, but there's nothing they can do. I just think now, especially with that being said and done, it would baffle me if I was Wilder and Joshua was on my turf, my biggest enemy in the boxing game. I'd make sure I was there. I'd make sure all cameras were on me. I'd make sure they were talking about me when he fought. That's what I would do if I was him. He's in America. So for him not to do that, it just, to me, it's not. I just won't do it. I wouldn't play it that way. I'd put the pressure on.
You mentioned earlier about the fact that Deontay Wilder is obviously going to fight Luis Ortiz. Tyson Fury potentially could fight Dillian Whyte, as according to Eddie Hearn yesterday. Where would that leave Anthony Joshua? You're kind of looking at Pulev and people like that?
That's the problem. It'd be Pulev or something like that, because at the end of the day, yes, he'll have his mandatory challenges to obligate for, but I just think for Anthony Joshua, you're running out of credible opponents. But at the end of the day, most of the fans that follow Anthony Joshua, or Anthony Joshua fans, they don't care who he fights. Look how many Brits are flying over, and how many of them actually know who Andy Ruiz is. You know, how many knew who Gerald Miller was? They came over to Anthony Joshua. So he'll always have that appeal, that crossover appeal. So he'll just have to box who's there in line. He'll put him in front of him and take him out. He says it himself. And I'm quite sure he'll be frustrated and of people constantly bringing it up. When are you going to fight Wilder? When are you going to fight Fury? When are you going to fight Whyte? Anthony Joshua does what he does. He just boxes. Don't blame him. But it must be very frustrating, because I know he wants to fight these people.
We've mentioned Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte as a potential fight. Who would you give the edge to in that fight if it was to happen?
I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think technically the best fighter out the whole of the top 10 technically is Tyson Fury, technically. But stars make fights. You can see on any given day anybody beating anybody in regards to Fury, Wilder, Joshua and Whyte. You can see any given day. And again, this is one of those occasions. Whyte reminds me of a Joe Frazier. If you dance his dance, he'll take you out and give you hellfire. He did it. Joe Frazier did it to the best fighter in the world, in Muhammad Ali. And so I think even the build-up to that fight would be wicked. And it's styles make fights. It's who can impress their style, their boxing ability, their fashion on the other. So that's a tough call. It's a tough call, but it's a good shout.
If you had your last pound, who would you bet it on?
I won't bet. I just won't bet, because I can see why both fighters would win. I just won't bet.
Okay, well that's Johnny Nelson sitting on the fence, and we're about to wrap it up because the undercard's about to start. Johnny Nelson, as always, it's a pleasure. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thank you. Sweet.